for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well, welcome. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. That's right. That's right. Today's Thursday, August 20th, 2020. 233 days into the new year. Only 133 days left. Let's do this, man. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planets. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Tonight's big night. Big night. For two reasons. First, Ronnie McMullen is here from Life Change Tea. And second, Linda Moulton Howe. That's right, Linda Moulton Howe is here. She'll be with us at the bottom of the hour. Ronnie's going to be with us in a few short minutes. Linda's going to be sharing with us the latest from Earth Files, earthfiles.com. You can head straight over to Earth Files right now. Check out all of the headlines that we will be covering tonight, including the Edwards Air Force Base ET bunker. What? Yep. I know what you're... What? Yep, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to talk about Antarctica. Some more animal mutilations from here in the United States and around the world. We're going to cover that too as well. Tonight, it's always great when Linda is here. You never know where the conversation is going to go. And yes, I was watching about the speculation of this evening in Twitter. Will Jimmy take phone calls with Linda tonight? Will he? And I know with the power of suggestion that you think by posting that in Twitter and I'm going to see that I'm going to capitulate, I'm going to buckle, I'm going to crawl into a ball and give in and cave. Yeah, I probably will. But, you know, I'm just saying. It's Linda, and it is Thursday night. Really looking forward to the conversation. We'll see. I'll ask Linda. If she wants to take calls from the Fade or Nots. Take the burden off of my shoulders. The burden that I bear that you guys put on me every single day. The guilt. You guys are the best. All right. I do want to thank everybody. Look, the Game Changer Network's new YouTube channel. Thank you for all the subscribers for a channel that has no content on it yet. That is absolutely amazing to me, and for all of your support. Got two little animations up there that absolutely show nothing but the name of our new series, which is called The H Factor. But I'm just letting you know it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait. Getting ready to premiere this thing. I'm so excited. I'm just happy. I'm in a great mood. And so you can continue to go and subscribe, click on notifications. That premiere is going to happen shortly, and you're going to want to be there when it does. Trust me on this one. All right? Game Changer Network, YouTube. That's all you got to do. You'll know it's us when you get there. All right? And also, everybody wants to own their own crystal skull. Maybe it's your first one, maybe it's a second, maybe it's a third, but our newest sponsor here at the Game Changer Network and Fade to Black is Carolyn Ford and Einstein, thecrystalskull.com. You've seen my amazing collection of crystal skulls. I've got way too many. Like Yngwie here in the studio, right? Elvis here in the studio. I think I have Jose in here too as well. Jose's amazing. Get your own crystal skull today. Go to EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. The banner's over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code Jimmy is going to get you 10% off of your crystal skull order today. Also, coming up next week, the Dark Zone Network's next live event. It's February 28th through Monday, August 31st. It is the Lizzie Borden Murder House Live. Get to pick your own cameras, your own rooms, your own time of day. Go do your own thing and check it out. Go do your own ghost adventure right now at the Lizzie Borden Murder House Live. Next Thursday, the 27th, they will have a free preview up on Thursday for you guys to go and check it out. And, of course, the website is thedarkzone.tv, and the banners are over at jimmychurchradio.com. You can follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. I'm watching Twitter right now. This is what's so great about Fade to Black. Yeah, the audience is huge. It is. Yeah, it's that. And the Fadernauts are great, and the family is great. But you guys built everything that is here. You've named yourselves. I didn't name yourself. I didn't name you the Fadernauts. You did. I didn't invent the sandbox. You did. I didn't create the chat rooms. You did. I didn't do any, none of it. That's the beauty of it. I'm watching Twitter. It's crazy. Love you guys. Follow me on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. I know everybody's going crazy over on YouTube. Hello. I know Facebook. All right. What's going on over there in Vimeo? Okay. TalkStream Live, KGRA. It's all great. And I understand that. I do tune in. I get that. Over on the website, I understand that. The action is right here. Hashtag F2B on Twitter. 2,000-3,000 tweets a night. Nobody does that but you guys. I don't care. Pick the network. Pick the biggest network in the world. They don't do what you guys do on Twitter every single night. Hashtag F2B on Twitter. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black Questions. Let's get to the breaking news. Russian opposition politician Alexei Navalny is in a coma, and on a ventilator in an intensive care unit in a Siberia hospital. It all happened today after falling ill from a suspected poisoning that his allies believe is linked to his political activity in Russia. Can you say Vladimir Putin? I'm just saying. The 44-year-old critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin felt unwell today on a flight back to Moscow from Tomsk, a city in Siberia. Was taken to a hospital after the plane made a U-turn and an emergency landing back in Omsk. Now, the poison may have been in tea that Navalny drank at an airport cafe before boarding his plane earlier today. During the flight, started feeling sick, started feeling weird, started sweating, went to the bathroom, lost consciousness, and has been in a coma ever since. After arriving at the hospital, doctors were able to stabilize him for transfer to either Germany or France. He's not going to Moscow. He wants out of the country for further medical care. Currently, Navalny is in a natural coma, not a medically induced coma, a natural coma and on an artificial lung ventilation machine. Unbelievable news. Also, right now, NASA is tracking down the source of an air leak on the International Space Station. The leak was first spotted back in September of 2019, where there were indications of an increase above the standard air leak rate. The 3 Expedition 63 crew members that are currently on board the International Space Station are going to spend the weekend together inside the Russian section of the International Space Station. That's right. Commander Chris Cassidy and his 2 crewmates, Ivan Wagner and Anatoly Ivashnishin. Ivan, I said this name correctly like 10 times today, still can't get it out. Ivashnishin. Ivanishin. That's it. I got it out. You gotta love live radio. They're going to stay in the Zvezda service module from Friday until Monday morning. There you go. All the space station hatches will be closed this weekend, so mission controllers can carefully monitor the air pressure in each module. I don't know what's going on with my speech tonight. It must be Ronnie McMullen. He makes me nervous. Happy birthday to today. Robert Plant is 72. Unbelievable. Same age as Ronnie McMullen. Amy Adams today is 46. Of course, the star of Arrival, one of my favorite movies. Our dead guy's birthday today is, I need a moment of silence, Dimebag Darrell. Dimebag Darrell, 1966 to 2004, died at the age of 38 years old. Of course, Pantera and Damage playing guitarists who helped create groove metal and influenced a generation of guitarists, including myself. On December 8th, 2004, I can't believe it's been 16 years. December 8th, 2004, Damage Plan was performing at the Alrosa Via nightclub in Columbus, Ohio. As the band played the first song of its set list, a deranged fan rushed onto the stage and shot Darrell multiple times, killing him right there. At Dimebag's funeral, Eddie Van Halen donated his original black and yellow striped 1979 Charvel Bumblebee guitar, which was featured on the back cover of Van Halen 2. I looked at that guitar a million times on that back cover and placed that guitar in Dimebag's casket. On this day in history, OTD, 1975, Viking 1, an unmanned U.S. planetary probe, is launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida, on a mission to Mars. Fate or fact, as I speak to you right now, and Ronnie McMullen is on hold listening, as I speak to you right now, taking your dogs for walks could become the law in Germany. That's right. Under the planned rules, dog owners will have to take their dogs for walks at least twice a day for a minimum of 1 hour in total. There's some other things in this law, too, by the way. Can't leave your dog alone for the whole day. Can't do that. Nope. Can't chain your dogs. Nope. Can't change your dogs to the backyard. Nope. Can't do it. Can't run them around on a short leash. Can't do that either. It's crazy. It's crazy. No word yet on the penalties involved, right, if you get caught. Also, what about dog kennels or breeders or people that have, 10, 20 dogs, 30 dogs? What happens then? They're cracking down in Germany. All right, tonight, Linda Moulton Howe is here. We're going to get the latest from Earth Files. It is Thursday night. No Fader night tonight. It's Linda and this man right here, Ronnie McMullen. Ronnie, welcome back, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Jimmy?
72 years old. I didn't know it. I didn't know, Ronnie. I didn't know you were 72.
Yeah, testing to see if I'm listening. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Robert Plant.
Can you believe it?
Oh man, that's powerful. Led Zeppelin all the way.
Well, I say it all the time. I go through these birthdays, Ozzy or Tony Iommi or, you can go through any of, whatever, Mick Jagger, right? We all know. But you go down and some of, I don't care, Twisted Sister, Eddie Van Halen. You go through these, David Lee Roth. You go through these names and you look at their ages and you're like, oh, man, right? This wasn't supposed to happen. Not when you're 16. It wasn't supposed to happen, was it?
It makes you feel old.
It does, man.
Especially when some of the people that you listen to and you just really enjoyed and they die.
Oh man, stop! I know.
Tom Petty really
Yes.
affected me.
Yeah,
I don't
man.
know why it was, but he really affected me when he died.
Yeah, David Bowie messed with me, man. That.
Prince.
Yeah, Prince. Messed with
Jeez.
me. Oh man. So Robert Plant, 72. I just don't even know where to go with that. I really don't. 72. When you think about it, right? Because I know you well enough, Ronnie, to know that you had Hit Parader magazines stacked up in your bedroom. You had them. I know you did, Ronnie. I know you did. And who was on the cover of every other issue 12 months out of the year? Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, it was Led Zeppelin.
They rule, and they still rule.
They still rule. If
they were ahead of their time.
They were ahead of their time. When you look back and you think about your childhood, and you think about the music and things and summer and cassette tapes and all of that stuff. I mean, what goes through your head? What song goes through your head? Is it Led Zeppelin?
It's a whole lot of love.
It is, right? Right? For me, it's more like Moby Dick, but song remains the same too. Maybe the whole.
Or how many times, I love this, for all the amateur guitarists, that their first song that they played was what?
It was
that
rock
we got
and
tired
roll.
of, Jimmy.
It was rock and roll. Rock and roll by Led Zeppelin.
It was Stairway to Heaven.
Oh, I was going to leave that to you, man. You know what?
You heard it all the time. Pretty soon, the most beautiful song you'd like burn out on.
So in my bedroom, I'm growing up, right? And I got my acoustic guitar, and I'm going bing, gang, 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 kank, right? Tanking the sixth note, bing, gang, gang. Finally, my dad comes out of his bedroom. That's it. I can't take it anymore. And I said, what? He goes, you're playing it wrong. I said, okay. He comes in, takes the guitar from me. It's this note. Dee, 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 dee. I said, Pops, that's amazing. How do you know that? I've got an ear. And he walked out of the bedroom and left me sitting there. I can't take it anymore. And I know exactly what he's saying. It's just so funny. That's a true story.
You're like, what are you saying, Dad?
That's a true story, man. That is a true story. I can't take it. Bam, 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 pounding on the door. I didn't think he could hear it, but he was listening to it for probably, 6 hours. I can't take it. Oh, man. What's new over at Life Change Tea?
Oh, we are doing good. I'm really excited how people are really taking care of their health right now. I mean, I'm on a new health kick too. Well, we can talk about that someday, but I'm on a new health kick, and it's just kicking booty, and it makes my supplements even work better.
Like what?
Intermediate fasting.
I did that 6 months ago.
And
felt pretty good.
Did you keep it going?
I did it for about a week.
You like the cinnamon rolls, right?
I did it. Man, come on. That's how Rita and
really
I bailed.
Juicy with the icing and the butter.
You know what? It was like day number 6. Rita's like, cinnamon rolls tonight, church. I'm like, I'm in, man.
I'm in. Forget this fasting crap.
Oh, man. And Rita makes her own icing, man. And
Rita, make me some. I'm on my way.
She doesn't play around. But yeah, intermediate fasting. So with what you do over there, what's the combination that works? Everybody's doing the fasting thing these days.
Well, it's kind of a fad right now, but it's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. I'm kind of doing my own thing. I mean, I picked up a book called it's a fasting book by Jason Fung, Fung, and it goes into great detail. Lots of testing that went on, and it deals with obesity, losing weight, which I don't need to lose a whole ton of weight. But it also deals with blood sugars. It also deals with cardiovascular. It also deals with colon, prostate, brain fog, eyes. I mean, it's like it does a whole ton of stuff. It's not just, people are doing it maybe to lose some weight. And I've lost 10 pounds. In 3 weeks, I lost 10 pounds. So you lose weight, but it's not, crazy. But long and the short of it is, I'm not doing it for the weight loss. I'm doing it for the health. And it really resets your body all the way to the cellular level. So this is my new life. And it's not that bad, because once you come off of it, you can eat pretty much not really what you want, but it's not like the super diet or something. You just eat a high fat diet. And, where can you get a diet that you can have bacon?
Yeah. No, you're right about that. You're right.
You can have meat, you can have bacon. So, you can go have yourself a hamburger if you wanted. But long and short, he just says eat good. In other words, eat organic, eat the right stuff. Don't do a lot of processed foods. No simple carbs, and X on the sugar. Sugar, no way. And he knows, I believe he knows that, nobody can do a zero sugar deal. There's no way. So you reward yourself after 2 or 3 weeks. Get yourself a little bowl of ice cream or whatever, something that's pretty simple. And then get back on and go. And it's, I've been doing it and it works. I always play guinea pig. You hear a lot of fads, a lot of diets, a lot of this, a lot of that. And, I get tired of this and that. I want to know the real deal. And this is the real deal. So if you want to lose weight and get super healthy, intermediate fasting. And I think his book's called The Guide to Intermediate Fasting, Jason Fung. I don't get anything out of it, but it's just people get a lot of benefits out of it.
No, it is the latest thing, and like I said, we did it 6 months ago, and we also let me back up about a year and a half ago. We got an entire fasting kit for the family. With specific things to eat on day 1, day 2, day 3. But I will say this. The basic thing, even with the kit and with just a mindset to do it, right, with basic instructions, is you're going to eat 1 meal a day,
Right.
and that's it. And that's hard for a lot of people, but I found it by the second or third day. The first day you're dying. It's not any fun. But by the time you get to the second to third day, it's actually quite all right.
Yeah, hunger pains go. I did a 67-hour fast. That's my biggest one so far in 3 weeks. I've been on like fast a day, be off a day, and I'm eating once a day, and then I'll do a 36, and then I'll do a 48. And, if you keep on it, it's surprising how you're not hungry and how much energy you have. And the book goes into different things like, the lie that you're not going to have any energy, the lie that you're going to be starving, all this different stuff. And it goes into that with medical charts and, all kinds of stuff. So it's really detailed. And of course, I went like a little harder than the normal Joe because I want to see what this thing can do, and the spiritual leaders of old basically fasted. And when you look at the old days, we were never meant to eat 3 meals a day. I don't know where that came from, but that wasn't our deal. If you look in the old caveman days with the spears or something, they'd get a deer. They might not eat again for 3, 4, 5 days till they see another deer. What did they do? They fasted. So long and the short of it, it's good. And here's the kicker. As being a part of the Get the Tea, here's the kicker. So supplements, I thought, like a lot of times when you take a supplement, it doesn't digest well. So you get maybe half of it or whatever if your digestion's, and most people's digestion's screwed. So it's a terrible thing to say, but GMOs have kind of done that. So here you are trying to digest something good for you, but you're getting part of it because your digestion's goofed up. So you try to take it with a digest or whatever. So I thought, oh boy, fasting. There's no food in you. You're not going to digest. This is going to be a bummer. Actually, it's not true. When you fast, your metabolism speeds up and your digestion works great. So guess what happens? You take a pill, wham, you're getting it, and you're getting it now. So
well, what
that
about
was really cool.
Well, what about vitamins? Should they get like your ABCs package? So you're
absolutely.
I mean,
I just put out the ABCs because we just got vitamin A in, and people might say, are you going to be doing everything there is? No, I'm not. But the reason I did vitamin A is because it's really the kind of the building blocks of your immune system. And then, of course, having a B complex, which is our essential Bs.
Right.
And then having our C, which is the coral C, and then the T. So put that all together. It's a great package. We also got melatonin in. Melatonin is for you guys out there that are having a tough time slowing the mind down to sleep.
Right.
And melatonin is wonderful. I take one every night, and I was like, yeah, baby. So I take that and put that with the tea, and that's on special too. And of course, it's on the front page, getthetea.com. Scroll down, front page, put it right there. And of course, if you put Fader in the coupon code, that's right, I'm going to pay the shipping.
Yeah, right on. And we really thank you for that. And I'm looking. Oh, time to rest special. There it is, melatonin. You know what I've been doing, Ronnie? Before I let you go, my daughter's like my MD, right?
Yeah,
she keeps me going. But it was like 6 months ago. She comes in, she goes, "I've got these melatonin gummy bears. You want to try some?"
Yeah,
those things work, man. Melatonin. Oh, look at this picture of Ronnie. Is that you? That's you. Where'd you get that shirt?
On the melatonin?
Yeah. I'm looking right here. That's you. The 70s called, Ronnie. They want their shirt back.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, melatonin.
Is that you? That's you, right? I got to look
melatonin?
at this again. Yeah, with the...
No.
That's not you?
No.
I'm letting everybody know. Go to get
go and look. They're like, hey,
yeah, if you want to know what Ronnie looks like, go to getthetea.com, and it says check out Ronnie's YouTube channel, and there's a picture right there of Ronnie.
Oh yeah, that's me.
There you go. That's Ronnie right there. The 70s called, man. I'm telling you.
No, that was kind of a cool shirt, but it kind of looks 70-ish.
Yeah, 1979. Yeah, you were pretty.
Yes, but that was 79 was a great year. You know why?
It was a great year.
It was the ushering of the 80s.
It was also
my favorite time.
Wasn't that the year of Disco Sucks? Right? Was that the disco, burning?
I thought that was 77, 78 when they started kicking disco.
Well, I was thinking 79 was the end, though. I think 78. Check this out. I'll give you a little Fader fact before I say goodnight. 1978, the Grammys had Best Disco Song. 1 year. 1979, no disco awards. I'm not kidding. They only had it for 1 year.
I believe you.
1978. Ronnie, you're the best. Where does everybody go? Getthetea.com?
Getthetea.com. TEA. Getthetea.com.
And specials. Head to the specials page. You got the Feel Good special there. Get
your ABCs, and the ABCs are really important because if you're looking at essential Bs, that's really going to calm your nerves down, really help with your nervous system. So lots of good stuff, and especially in this time of, where they're trying to lock us down again and all the garbage is going on. It's a great time to build that immune system and flush yourself out. So the ABCs is wonderful. And if you want to sleep, get the melatonin.
Ronnie, you're the best. Promo code Fader, everybody. Fader, because you're a Fader not. Promo code Fader, free shipping from Ronnie. Ronnie, you're the best. Be safe out there, my friend, and we'll talk over the weekend.
All right, take care.
Ronnie McMullen. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, right after the break, Linda Moulton Howe is here. Everybody go over to getthetea.com. The banners are over at jimmychurchradio.com. It's simple. Getthetea.com. Melatonin on the homepage. Head to the specials page. Feel Good special. Get your ABCs. There you go. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Linda's up next. You can follow her at Earth Files on Twitter. I'll be right back after this short break with Linda Moulton Howe. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on jimmychurchradio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts.
If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. The Dark Zone presents another epic live streaming event from America's most famous haunted crime scene, the Lizzie Borden Murder House. A 4-day live streaming event, August 28th through the 31st, 2020. Following the smash success of the first of its kind live streaming event at the Conjuring House, the Dark Zone Network is proud to present a worldwide interactive live streaming event from the notorious double murder scene, the Lizzie Borden House in Fall River, Massachusetts. This is the perfect warm-up for Halloween. Full access to the continuous around-the-clock 4-day event is just $19.99. Discounted tickets are on sale now, and you can check out the free preview on Thursday, August 27th. For more information and to watch the Lizzie Borden Murder House live, please visit thedarkzone.tv or just click on the banners at jimmychurchradio.com. That's www.thedarkzone.tv.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Linda Moulton Howe. You can follow Linda on Twitter at Earth Files. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Linda's here tonight to talk about all of her latest research into the strange events from all around the world, including the Edwards Air Force Base underground ET facilities and the eerie animal mutilations happening not only here in the United States, but over in England. We've got some other updates at Earth Files. You can go to earthfiles.com right now and check out what we're going to be talking about tonight. It's all right there. Linda, of course, is a graduate of Stanford University with a master's degree in communication. She has devoted her documentary, film, television, radio, writing, and reporting career to productions concerning science, medicine, and the environment. Ms. Howe has received 3 regional Emmys, a National Emmy nomination, and a Station Peabody Award, among others. Linda has earthfiles.com and has appeared on Ancient Aliens since its first season and has traveled in Venezuela, Peru, Brazil, England, Norway, France, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Yugoslavia, Turkey, Ethiopia, Kenya, Egypt, Australia, Japan, Canada, Mexico, the Yucatan, Puerto Rico, and soon to be Antarctica. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Linda Moulton Howe. Linda, good evening. How are you?
Hi, Jimmy. I love that list because it's like watching a movie flash through my mind's eye of all of these places in both hemispheres that I have been trying to understand this planet that we're on and all of its phenomena.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question you've never been asked before. And whenever I say that to you, I know you step back a little bit. Okay, what's church going to do? But Linda, stay with me on this. All those countries, great career, great life. Ronnie McMullen was just on the show, and we were talking about the disco era in the 70s. Linda, did you do the disco?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay, I feel better now.
There were periods in my life where I was literally dancing every single night. And when I worked in New York at UNICEF, working on documentaries for both Ethiopia and then another one in Mexico, I was at the UNICEF building that was on the river, and there were, remember, it was in the 70s to I think somewhere in the 80s that there was a place in New York that became famous because all sorts of things like elevators and balloons would descend from the center of the huge, like 5-story inside with balconies, and you'd be dancing, and the next thing, if you weren't watching what was happening, a huge balloon would come down on your head, or there would be something else that they would start throwing flowers. It was just absolutely so fun and so free. And when I was at Stanford, I was the only girl in a class with 27 guys. And we would go every weekend up to San Francisco, and I have had the good fortune to be close to a live performance of The Doors, doing a photographic essay on Morrison and his snake pants, being there with the Jefferson Airplane and Grace Slick doing White Rabbit, 10 feet away from her, Janis Joplin at the Fremont. Oh, God, yes. Janis Joplin with I guess it was a real glass of hard liquor, singing her heart out. And it was a time that in this now paranoid, afraid, straitjacketed age of COVID, it's the one thing that stands out to me is when you lose your freedom of movement, right, even if you are doing it because it is the only intelligent way to live right now. It just it goes to the soul. There is something about us as humanity that I think that in many ways, more than money, more than sex, more than just about anything else, fundamentally what beats in all of us is desire for freedom. And freedom can be as simple as, I want to walk down to the river and watch the water flow.
You know, Linda, everybody knows that you're cool. They know this. They know. They just got the proof, though. You know, they're just like, man, I knew it. I knew Linda was cool, but wow. So much, you know, that's just amazing. And you're absolutely right. I'm a little bit younger than you, not much. But when I think about 1969, 1970, 71, you know, I'm 8, 9, 10 years old in that era. But I lived on a college campus with my dad while he was going to school, my family. So I got to see, you know, the chains of the hippies walking around arm in arm, you know, down the street, and the not really protests, more like love-ins kind of thing. This thing about peace and about freedom, and which lasted all the way through the 70s for sure. But I was there for that, and I can't believe how far removed we are today. I mean,
well, and one of the ironies about the 60s is that the desire for freedom, the protest, all of it, began where I was an undergraduate at the University of Colorado in Boulder. And I was working on the school newspaper then, and we were the first university to have a really large sit-in and protest against the Vietnam War. And I graduated, in 65 because I was asked by the state of Idaho to take a year out after the Miss America pageant, and I was Miss Idaho, and they had me travel all over the state speaking and doing all kinds of fun things for a year. So I graduated 1 year after my original class in 65, and I'm trying to give the timeline for the protest because I had been in the first Vietnam protest in the University of Colorado. Then I went to Washington, D.C. to work for the U.S. Senator from Idaho, Len B. Jordan. He was a friend of my father's, and my dad was director of aeronautics in Idaho. And I worked in Washington for Senator Jordan and got to lead people from Idaho around in the Capitol and the Senate buildings, and it was a very exciting year. But this is an insight into the other side of the freedom and the dancing and all of the 60s was. Our office in Washington was right down the hall from the Senate Foreign Relations Committee room.
Ooh.
And that year that I was there is when they were having all of the hearings about many things related to the Vietnam War.
Right.
And during that year, it was interesting. I left the University of Colorado with the idea that I was going to become a lawyer. I've always wanted to try to help in a lot of things, and I thought if I became a lawyer, I would be able to help lots of people. And so I went back to Washington to work for the senator with the idea that my next step would be to go to law school. And while I was there, I began to feel a kind of cynicism about politics and lawyers. It's where it began. That everything in Washington, that I had sort of a starry-eyed feeling about being in the nation's capital and working for a government of, by, and for the people. It was my first taste of the corrosiveness that can exist as the layer right below what people who are lawyers and representatives in Washington are. Below the surface, there's a tremendous amount of self-service and playing all kinds of political strategies that lead, I thought, to so many things that were unfair. And I was sort of seeing things up close and decided while I was there, I would go down to the Foreign Relations Committee hearing and I would listen to the lawyers and the representatives who were arguing issues about the Vietnam War. And I thought the only people that I think are actually trying to do an honest job are the reporters. And it fundamentally, when I think back, that was that room, that year, going with the idea of becoming a lawyer and becoming discouraged by that and seeing the reporters and how hard they were working to try to tell the truth. And that's when I decided that I would apply to several universities to go on to do a communications. I wanted to go more toward the TV and as opposed to newspaper. Mm-hmm. And it was Stanford University. It gave me the Stanley Boebert Scholarship. It was 2 full years at Stanford University, all tuition paid. And it was, to be at Stanford 66 to 68, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And with the Fairmont and all of the various fantastic music groups were there. And I think I can tell you this story, and I can spell, if there I'm thinking of one particular thing I'm going to tell you because it's worth repeating.
Okay.
It was so historic.
Okay. Do I have to brace myself for this, Linda?
Well, I'll be really careful.
Okay.
But there was a group of us from Stanford.
Right.
We loved Jimi Hendrix. He was the best guitar player because he was so unexpected and so incredible. And we had gotten tickets to go up into one of the Forest Theaters north of San Francisco. It was like, imagine lots of bleachers in trees. It was beautiful. To go to a concert where you're in and surrounded by trees in that gorgeous area just north in Marin County in San Francisco. That's where we were.
Right.
And I remember that there were, like, I think it was 3 guys and me and a couple of other girls. I think there were 6 of us. And we got there, and we were looking at the bleacher stands right in front of the stage, and they were empty. And I said, oh, my gosh, we can sit right here. And one of the guys said, I don't think you want to be sitting there for the EJACULATION.
What?
So I got with the joke and the program, and with this guy guiding us, we moved up to about the 6th or 7th row center to the stage of Jimi Hendrix.
Was that far enough back, Linda?
Well, the concert started, and it was glorious and fantastic, and we got to what should be on the clock about the end of the concert.
Right.
And Jimi Hendrix took off on a musical riff, musical spontaneous genius. I can feel it and see it now. It stirred everybody. You could feel the audience. It was electric. I mean, we were in the presence of unique genius.
No doubt.
And he was going, and people began, in some places, not rudely at all, but there became a whistle here and there, and then like a single clap, like the audience couldn't contain itself. And Hendrix was just like energy holding a guitar on that stage. And then it got louder and louder, and it started having a rhythm to it, and louder and rhythm, and I heard people gasping, and I heard somebody say, "This is it! This is it!" And out came this stream of white from the guitar, and it drenched the people in the first 5 rows in front of us. And that was the Jimi Hendrix EJACULATION with his guitar that I had not heard of. So I don't know how many times he had done it. Obviously, a few people knew what it was. But all I can share is that there was nothing about it that was offensive at all. It was like, this is this guy's genius, and that what he performed on that stage that night, it is indelible. I can still hear it, and that he was sort of magical. And, I believe, looking back, because he was such a bright comet, I believe he died 1 year after that at the young age on drugs.
Unbelievable. 27, too. Linda,
Yeah,
I'm going to go on the record right now. I don't know how many interviews or conversations you and I have done over the years. I don't know. Too many to count. But you just topped it all. You just topped it all. I mean, that's a mic drop. I remember, okay, let's go back a little bit before we move forward and jump into today and all the exciting stuff that you've got going on right now. I remember, let's turn back the clock. We haven't discussed this. Years ago, you came on the show like 2 or 3 years in a row on or around Thanksgiving. And you remember all of that. But there was one Thanksgiving show where you and I did not talk about UFOs the whole night. We talked about what it was like for you to be you as a woman in journalism throughout your life. And we just discussed that for the whole evening. And it was great, not only for the audience, but for me too, because, and for you. You didn't have to talk about this other. We went completely off script. And I know we had a plan that night, and we didn't get to any of it. But that conversation was extraordinary. But it wasn't as good as Jimi Hendrix in the park.
I wonder if I told you, and it seems appropriate to bring up now, because it was the one event that crystallized what I would say was a completely disconnected male from female understanding that the brain of a woman works as well or better than the brain of a man kind of thing.
Right.
I was director of special projects at the CBS station in Denver, and this is before I did A Strange Harvest. I was working on Fire in the Water about hydrogen as an alternative to fossil fuels. And I had traveled with my crew, which were all men, the audio guy, the cameraman, when we hired assistants, they were all men. And that it was a challenging it was coast to coast. I had an entire month of travel and filming in very difficult situations, being at the Tokamak out at the end of the Long Island area and at Brookhaven, where I have where you have vertigo, but I had to so many times in my documentary production days where I had to climb ladders. I had to climb ladders that went up the sides of buildings. I had to do that many times with vertigo. And we were at Brookhaven, and we had to climb the equivalent of something like 150 feet on just a straight ladder going up the one side of the, and it was just awful. But I made myself do it. And I'm only telling this because it was a rugged production, a complex production. It was challenging at every level, and it is one of the films that I was nominated for a national Emmy nomination. So it means a lot to me. Okay. The first night of broadcast on Channel 7, KMGH TV in Denver, I got a phone call the next morning from the manager of the station. And he said, Mr. S. Smith called me last night and said, why are you letting this woman at the station put a credit on that film, Fire in the Water? There's not a woman on this planet that could have done that film that I saw last night, and I was offended that you would have a female. Yeah, I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah. And so now the general manager of the station is saying that to me, and he said, would you please do me a favor, Linda? I know you did the film, obviously. He said, I want you to take this name and number, and I want you to call and talk to this man. I know him personally, and I want him to hear from you. So I am put in this difficult position of dialing a phone number to know that I'm to talk to a man who is a friend of the general manager's,
right.
Who thinks that
women aren't good enough. Yeah. Wow.
So when he answered and I said, this is who I am, and that the general manager asked me to call you, I understand that you have some question about the credits on Fire in the Water. That's what I called it, Fire in the Water. And he said, yes. I told him, I said, it's a brilliant film, absolutely brilliant film. There isn't a woman on this planet, and he said those words, there isn't a woman on this planet who could do a film as brilliant as that film. And I think that they should correct the credits. We should not be doing, that's what I remember also, we should not be being political with credits. And I said, "Sir, I'm the director of special projects at the CBS station. I did my graduate work for 2 years at Stanford University. I made films at Stanford about the Stanford Linear Accelerator. I've made a film that the Stanford Medical Center is still using. I worked at KNBC in Los Angeles. I produced news stories every day. Then I worked in the documentary unit. I worked with all the medical programming at the ABC station in Boston, and now I am doing documentaries and live studio shows in Denver, and I produced, wrote, directed, and edited Fire in the Water." And you know what he did?
Hung up.
Hung up on me.
Yeah, he hung up. What you should have done, drove over there and karate chopped him right in the neck.
No. I you know what happens when that male-female thing was so ridiculous, especially in I think of the 60s, at some points, and you know what you do, and you know what you have done, and that there's no question. You don't have any self-doubt about what you're doing.
Right.
When there is that kind of ignorance, it's water off a duck's back, but it also shows what the disconnect has been in so many ways that have been so crazy, and the craziness of having that kind of disconnect bothers me so much, because we all need to be able to have all of our talents reinforced. There should be no sexism or racism, and I've always felt that. And I had my back beaten with a billy club by a California State Patrol when we were at Stanford, and I was covering as a reporter for the Stanford Chaparral magazine, and that was when there was a huge sit-in at Berkeley. 30-some thousand students showed up at Berkeley. I was there covering it, and that was in October of 1967. And Joan Baez, the afternoon before, had been arrested, put in handcuffs, dragged into a police wagon because she was leading a sit-in in front of the Army Induction Center in Berkeley. And the next morning, it was three of my male colleagues from Stanford. They came up to do stringing. A stringer is somebody who does sub work periodically for stations in the city. And so three of my male colleagues at the Department of Communication, they had gotten stringing jobs to cover what was going to be a wild day, and everybody in all the networks were trying to cover it as well. Joan Baez was now in jail, and what was going to happen at the induction center. And we stayed up all night at Berkeley covering the 30,000 people. We went in our same clothes, went back to the induction center, and as we were walking, I had a 35-millimeter Nikon camera hanging around my neck that I used on a lot of things I was doing. And then the other three guys, they had actual heavy and large 16-millimeter cameras. And as we're walking the block, it was extremely hot. I remember it was unusual for October. It was really, really hot. Everybody, all the students were in shorts, sandals, and like really thin white T-shirts. You can't hide weapons in shorts, T-shirts, and sandals. So it was not a student crowd that had any kind of weapons in any way. But as we approached the street in front of the Oakland Induction Center, I just happened to have my attention caught by something that I was now looking up at the buildings that were extending down from the induction center. And I said, "Hey, you guys, look." And right along the tops of all of the buildings, they were like maybe 5 stories high in that area, were what it looks like black silhouette stitching when you have got those trained sharpshooters.
Right.
They were elbow to elbow to elbow, and it actually looks like some kind of a border at the top of the roof. And I said, "What's going on?" "They're armed. those are rifles. And the guys are like, wow. And we got to the street in front of the induction center, and it was called the Wedge. Reagan was president, and was governor. And this was something that had developed in California to deal with protests. They would take California highwaymen or patrol, whatever, in a large group, fill up an entire block or two, do a point at the front, and have a mass that would fill the streets so protesters could not get in the streets because the police were there. And when I saw that we were now up against the Wedge and that they were ready, we learned later there were 550 California Highway Patrol in this Wedge right there ready to go in front of the induction center. I stepped out, brought up my 35 millimeter to my eye, and I wanted to get the picture of the point guy in the point, and I wanted to put it in the Stanford chaparral. So I had this. This is what I'm doing. I start clicking, and there was a voice that yelled, and that Wedge started moving. It started moving right toward me, and it was like in the some of the Fellini movies and stuff about what are you going to do when something starts coming right at you, and you have a camera that you're supposed to run. It's been brought up philosophically in films of, do you throw the camera down? Do you jump off the cliff? In that case, I never had been tested that way before. I just kept shooting. I'm walking backwards, and the Wedge is coming right at me, right at the center of my lens, and I think I was sort of captivated by the fact that that was the shot I wanted to get, and I just kept shooting. And the guy that is right in front of my lens grabbed a hold of me, and he swung me to the guy next to him, who hit me to the guy next to him, and they kept knocking me and screaming, and I got knocked in front, and this was weird. There was only about a quarter of a block that had chain link fence right along the curb. So you had just about a 20 feet, 30 feet length of this chain link fence. And that is exactly where I get thrown and hit that chain link fence. And the patrol guy there, right next to the chain link fence, he grabbed a hold of me. He took his baton, and you know how they know how to jam the nerves on either side of your backbone where it really, really hurts? It feels like you've been stabbed with a knife.
Yes.
And he jammed in, and I'm yelling, I'm an American citizen. I go to Stanford University. I'm protected by the Constitution of the United States. And he said, shut your mouth. You just be glad that you're in front of me, because the rest of these guys would like to kill you all. Quote, unquote. I have never, ever forgotten those words. I can still remember that his mouth was over my right ear, if you know what I mean. He's leaning forward. I'm in front. He's got the baton on me.
Right.
And it was like some sort of passage, because up to that moment, the police and we students and Joan Baez, everybody was an American first, right?
That's right.
You see what I mean?
I do, and I feel that way now, too, as well.
Yes, that is exactly. As I watch what's happening now, I think of what I'm telling you now a million times, and how sad, because that was the moment that the paradigm blew up. Up until that moment, I felt I had a right to be a reporter covering a genuine protest against a war as a United States citizen, in which the Constitution of, by, and for the people gives us the rights for peaceful protests in order to try to change government to something that would be better than what it was. And that day, everything in my eyes began, it was, I guess you would say, that's when I had my first growing up moment that I was no longer quite so naive.
Linda, I blew through a network break. So let me get to that right now, and let's just pick this up where we are leaving off right now. That was absolutely extraordinary. I think for all of us, very moving too as well. And we can't forget, that we're all Americans.
Today.
Yes, and it's happening.
And Jimmy,
right now.
it's today, and it's the 60s. It's the 20s, and it's the 60s.
Except we don't have Jimi Hendrix. We'll be right back after this short break. Linda Moulton Howe. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. everybody. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Linda Moulton Howe is with us. And I don't know about the rest of the show after that first segment. Linda, I got to tell you, that's a lot of fun. That was absolutely amazing. And when I think it really sheds a light on your reporting over the years, and certainly the stuff that we're about to talk about tonight. And your tenacity and your commitment, and there you go. You set the stage. That was really well done. I want to let's do this really quick. I want to go backwards if I can on Earth Files first, and I want to go back to you did a part 1 and a part 2 about Edwards Air Force Base, and the first one on August 10th. And when this was released, and I went and looked at the headline that you ran with this, I think forever, and people started talking about it and were asking me questions too as well. I couldn't wait I immediately called you, of course, to get you on the show. But is this headline, which is Long Elevator Ride to Reptilian Humanoid Underground, Edwards Air Force Base, Part 1, reports an eyewitness. Can you take me to the beginning of this and how you found out about it?
A year ago at Contact in the Desert, so it would have been 2019.
Okay.
I am introduced to a woman named Celestine Starr, and it was with a group in which it started out that we were talking about various aspects of abductions and sort of the big picture of what could be going on, which ones, the description of reptilians, of tall blondes, of grays, praying mantises, oranges. It was like, what is real and what is the truth about reptilians having been based on this planet for millions of years underground? And so that was a general sort of public discussion. And then she came to me and she said, I'd like to tell you something privately. And we went and sat eye to eye outdoors, and she said, this goes back to, I was 17 years old in 1970. And she said, I met a man named Robert Hunt, and he was already in the Air Force, and a year later I married him, and we went to Italy. And she said, I had a child in that period of time, so there's a baby and the husband and her, and they are in Italy. And he was doing security management for the nuclear missiles of the United States in Italy. Now, what all that entails, I am not certain, but he had the high classification for that. And then in 1977, he was assigned back to the United States, where he became the flight chief of security for what is called the 412th Test Wing and Flight Test Center at Edwards Air Force Base in Kern County, California. That's about 22 miles northeast of Lancaster and 100 miles northeast of Los Angeles. And Edwards, going back to the post-war days, was also once upon a time known as Muroc Lake. And there are all kinds of tales going back from World War II up about what all related to UFOs and ETs happened in this area of the desert, and that Edwards Air Force Base has been one of the major test centers in the United States for anything and everything that would fly. So now he's back and has a top security management there at Edwards Air Force Base, and he is working with the 412th Test Wing. And Celestine said he would come home, and often he would not say a word. He would frown, he would get liquor, and he would drink. And if I tried to ask what was wrong, he would not talk. And the only thing that kept occurring was he would warn me, do not talk about anything in our house because it is tapped. So that meant that in 1977, that a person who would have high security clearance at Edwards Air Force Base would, with knowledge, know that he was living in a home that was tapped. And one night, she said he came home and he seemed to be really angry. And she went up to him and said, I got to know. And he made the sign of don't talk, but he sort of sat down next to her and sort of mumbled, the reptilians. Those reptilians. And she told me, I wasn't even sure, did he mean the word? Did he mean something that was growing in the desert since it's near Death Valley? But he wouldn't talk any further. And then he tilted his head, and it was like, all right, I'm going to show you. And they went and got in a truck, and they drove out to Edwards. And she said that at that time, on that date, and there are at least 4 specific dates that I've now got, that the NASA shuttle, which was going and doing test flights throughout 1977, there were 4 times when it was on the tarmac at Edwards without the piggyback. Remember, there's a piggyback ride, and I have that photograph in my earthfiles.com report.
Right.
But she took, and I have one of her original photos in my report that shows the shuttle not in a piggyback, but it's over on the tarmac. And he is still not talking. He's not telling her anything. But they come up and drive, and he says, why don't you get out here and take pictures of the shuttle? It's amazing, isn't it? So she does, of which one of these is in here, and it was very close to where they got out, and she took that shuttle photo that he nods his head. Everything she said, he always did with signs and fingers and facial expressions and saying okay or move. And she said he nodded to me to follow. So she said, I get behind him. And that we walked into a hangar. She said he seemed to know exactly what to do. Nobody was stopping, even though she was with him. And they went inside of this hangar, and she said it looked like inside there was only one sort of construction, a square box. And when they got up closer to this square box inside of the hangar, she said her mind thought, well, there's a steel bar across it. Maybe it's an elevator. He's not talking at all. And she watched him as he took his fingers or plastic or did something on the wall. And then the elevator door opened, and they went inside. And she said, she's told this to me personally, she said, it felt like you were in a Disneyland ride where your stomach comes up because you're going down so fast. Mm-hmm. And I think all of us have had that experience. And so whatever was happening, she had that feeling of her stomach coming up as it went down so fast. And she thought that they went down for quite a while, and she did not know there was nothing to signal floors or anything. But when the door opened again upon stopping, that they were looking at 3 like corridors in front of the elevator. Like you could go straight or to the right or to the left. And that she could see what seemed to be sort of like little offices sort of clustered around in what she took to be underground tunnels, that they were deep underground, and it was partly constructed, but still had the natural underground as well, mixed where they were. And she said she is standing there basically with her mouth open, waiting, and he leaned against a wall and kind of nodded at me, and now I'm reading from my Earth Files report, nodded to me to look in a window of another small enclosed space, and on the side that they were approaching there was a rectangular window. She said it had very thick glass. She could tell that. It was a little taller than she was, and as she told me in person, she said I had to sort of pull myself up against the wall to look in. And when I did, quote, it almost stopped my heart. It was a reptilian being, fierce-looking, probably about 7 feet tall. And as I'm looking, it turned its head and it turned its body, and it had a reptilian face with an elongated nose. It had an apparatus over its mouth. It looked like a lizard person standing up, but the hind legs were much bigger, stronger arms, muscular chest, green skin, scaly, different colors of green to yellowish, yellow-green around the inside of the arms, hands with sharp claw-like hands. And she describes, and she said to me, lift up your hand, your 5 fingers. She said it was very much like 5-fingered hand, except at the end were these very long, curled claws. And that the eyes, when it turned around, and she said it felt like a scan. If we can feel the vibrations, she said it felt like a scan in that moment, that I felt like my heart had been pierced. And that she could then see the eyes. And she said, the cats that have the really deep, deep gold eyes, this was that color with vertical black pupils in the middle.
Yeah, she describes them as slits, and the way
those are vertical.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Vertical pupil.
And it was her description. Also, everybody, if you go over to Earth Files and you go to the August 10th article, I want to point out to everybody, Linda, sorry for interrupting, but she has got, Linda's got a bunch of excellent illustrations and photographs there, and one of them is Celestine's sketch of this reptilian. But the way that you're describing the claws and the hands, check out this sketch, everybody. Go over there and look at that. And I want to also say really quick, when you're describing the corridor and the elevators and the stuff underground, there are also some illustrations of this in the article, which once you see this, you really kind of understand where she is and what she is going through.
That's right, Jimmy. Moment. And these photos, I asked Celestine to go through like a few hundred on the web to look for what was the very closest to what she saw with her own eyes. So what you're seeing is close to what she saw with her own eyes.
Great picture of the Space Shuttle Enterprise on the tarmac from her collection, but a really good layout, the way that this is done in the article that Linda has put together for everybody. Okay, so picking up there. So now she's face to face with this alien, this reptilian, and she gets a scan.
And yes, and upon feeling that sense that something has literally penetrated, is doing something that she can feel, she jumps back. She said she literally jumped physically away from the window, almost falling onto the floor. And her husband was still standing, leaning against a wall, and she said, I realized my whole body was trembling, and that he was just sort of watching. And she had said to me in contact, it was as if he was finally humanly satisfied that he was able to show another human being what just nod at him all of the time. And that he needed, as she says, he needed me to know.
Well, that's my next question. Right.
And here's the second sentence. He wanted the world to know.
Right. Because everybody's going to, why would he take her down there to see this? But there was a reason for that. And Linda, before we go to the break, what was her husband doing while this is going on? Was he just standing there nonchalantly and allowing this to go down?
Yeah, she said he stayed leaning against the wall that whole time that she walked up to the window, pulled herself up, and fell back. And it was almost as if you want to know, you said you want to know, and that he's got her there physically, but she's got to do it on her own and experience it. And after that,
well, actually, let me jump in right there. Now I'm going to take the break on time. Okay, so I'm going to take the break on time. But this is the perfect segue about what happens next.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Linda Moulton Howe. We've got a lot of things that we're going to be discussing tonight, and the first thing that we're going to get out of the way is Edwards Air Force Base and the elevator ride down to the, I call it the ET bunker. More on that when we come back after the break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
The Dark Zone presents another epic live streaming event from America's most famous haunted crime scene, the Lizzie Borden Murder House. A 4-day live streaming event, August 28th through the 31st, 2020. Following the smash success of the first-of-its-kind live streaming event at the Conjuring House, the Dark Zone Network is proud to present a worldwide interactive live streaming event from the notorious double murder scene, the Lizzie Borden House in Fall River, Massachusetts. This is the perfect warm-up for Halloween. Full access to the continuous around-the-clock 4-day event is just $19.99. Discounted tickets are on sale now, and you can check out the free preview on Thursday, August 27th. For more information and to watch the Lizzie Borden Murder House live, please visit thedarkzone.tv or just click on the banners at jimmychurchradio.com. That's www.thedarkzone.tv.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
Including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Linda Moulton Howe. Right now, we are discussing Edwards Air Force Base and a tunnel system, an elevator, and a reptilian. And Celestine Starr and her husband, who is one of the security at Edwards Air Force Base, has taken his wife down, not quite face-to-face. There was glass in between. But we've got a lot more to talk about there. This is just the beginning, Linda. So let's fast forward now. They go home to the house that's tapped and bugged, right?
Yep.
Now,
and she said, we came home and that night we did not speak. Can you imagine going through something like that and going home and not being able to talk with your spouse because the whole place is tapped and you've just seen a reptilian humanoid that is clearly either captured or working there, or who knows, and she doesn't know. But
Linda, Rita and I do that every night.
Well, it wasn't long after that experience that Celestine said, I called them the Icemen. And they had pale blue eyes when we were talking at Contact, she said, and they were bloody serious. And they came in a knock at the door of the house. And her husband was there at the time that they came. And she said these men with these steel blue eyes said, at the door, she answered, we need to speak to Hunt. His last name was Hunt, but they didn't give a title. His whole name was Ernest Robert Hunt. And she thought it was such a blunt way to talk about her husband, who was the head of security. Mm. And when she opened the door, Ernest came out from wherever he had been, and he just told her to go into the bedroom and just sit and not do anything and just sit. And then the Icemen left, and she asked her husband, so what's going to happen? What are you going to do? And he didn't really explain anything about what the Icemen had said. He just told her, I'm going to get us out, meaning out of all of the NDA straitjacket. You can't talk. You can't do this. You can't, all of that. And she thought that would be impossible. She told me that she said to him, at the risk of an argument, that he knew too much, they had seen too much, and they would never let him out. But he did. He negotiated an honorable discharge. And that was 1977. And then, sadly, 2 years later, he and Celestine divorced. And you can sort of get the feeling for why. There was just too much, too hard, and he was, in many ways, as she has said, he was a wonderful soul, but he was damaged in many ways. And she, though, has always loved her husband. And he died early on September 21st, 2014, and she honored him with a beautiful ceremony that she has now put into a web form. And she did it to celebrate what she called his life journey to galactic consciousness. And when I ask her, why do you think that your husband would get an honorable discharge, and showed you that the United States was either working with or had kept in some imprisoned way a reptilian humanoid entity that was clearly intelligent from someplace else, at least not known to the surface life. And she said that her husband told her that he understood that the whole huge, complex, keep it all under wraps forever had to do with who is going to control Earth. And that there is some implication in all of this, as we've all wondered for a long time. If there are reptilian humanoids, if there are blonde, blue-eyed humanoids, if there is a menagerie of grays, largely artificial intelligence, but with some organic intelligent species, if they're praying mantises, and there's a lot of different descriptions by people from the human abduction syndrome, then what is the conflict over Earth? Why is there a conflict over Earth? Are Homo sapiens sapien in any position to control or dictate what is going to happen? All of these are questions that are a residue from Ernest Robert Hunt's talking with Celestine in the time that he did before they divorced. And she said to me, I want to give you this information because, Linda, this is historic. My husband put his life on the line for humans, really, and that she had the sense from him that there are humans that are traveling now from Earth into interstellar space, which is what Spartan 1 and Spartan 2 told me for my documentary work, that there is interstellar trade going on. And it is as if there are two completely different worlds now, Jimmy. There is the post-World War II that went underground very quickly, getting whatever advanced technologies that could be gotten from whatever, whether they were crashes or deliberate placement of technology, like seeding the planet by ETs in what would seem like a harmless way, put it down on the Earth in what appears to be a crash, but it could be that these were designed to get us to go certain technological routes. And then we end up with a huge black underground government separate from, of, by, and for the people. And today in 2020, I think everybody is sensing that we as Americans, we don't really quite recognize the forces that are at work in this government now.
The conversations, and you're right about that, all of that, in the conversations that she had with Ernest before, not only before he died, but certainly before the divorce, did they continue the ET conversation, or was that off limits between the two of them?
Off limits. It is really something to realize that two people could live together, marry, have a child, live in the same place, and that the subject that dominated his life, that he at least showed her what he was mumbling about when he said those reptilians, that it would be off limits. I really don't understand how relationships could go forward much longer under that kind of severe. And now, if I may, with your permission, I would like to jump up to the beginning of how I opened part one.
That's my next. Yes, perfect segue,
Okay.
Linda. That's why you're a professional. That's where that Peabody came from. But let me say this as we set this up. I want the audience to understand that, and Linda's got this laid out really well in both articles in part one and part two, that this part of Southern California, A, is not small, and B, is one of the most secret areas in the United States, including Area 51, in that it's not only Edwards, but it's the United States Navy's China Lake Naval Air Station, which is in the middle of a friggin' desert, by the way. There's no water there. And then you have the airstrip, you have Lockheed, you have Skunk Works, all of the real secret stuff right now that is going on in this country is out in the middle of this desert, not very far from our studio here. It's very close, but it is a huge chunk of land. The China Lake Naval Air Station is the largest Navy base in the world, but it's in the desert.
And if you go to the very bottom of part one, I did two maps together. Nellis Air Force Base Range and the Nevada Test Site Area 51 S4, where it is outside of Las Vegas and where Edwards is. And when you realize that in terms of it is really not that far.
No.
It's as if these whole complexes that included all of the Nellis Air Force Range, the Nevada Test Site, the Air Force Range, the China Lake, Edwards Air Force Base, all of this area in this kind of one, you might say, between Nevada and California in that region, has had the most sensitive, outside of maybe Wright-Patterson, you have to put in there as being another place that has a huge underground installation where there are everything from bodies to craft. But I think it is important to keep Edwards and Nellis sort of in your mind's eye as being very simpatico in all of this. And what I wanted to do was, a lot of people don't know this. When I was producing my book, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 2, my third book, it's a two-part book, I had an experience with having contact through floppy computer disks from two men, one DIA ID, the other NSA, with ID and with paper proof. And they had a copy of my Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 1, and they wanted to address to me several things in Volume 1, and for me to get to them Volume 2, which had come out at the end of 1980. This was, make sure I give you the right time frame here. It was 93 to 94, I believe. And so Volume 1 was out, and I was working on Volume 2. And when they contacted me, they said, we can exchange through floppy disks. And when I said, is there any possibility of my coming? I'm happy to come and fly to talk with you. And they said it would be too dangerous for you and for us, but we will communicate by floppy disk. One of the guidances that they gave me in a floppy disk was a list of a book called The Devils and Evil Spirits of Babylonia, which Attack Mankind. That is the title. Copyright 1903 by R. Campbell Thompson, translated from the original cuneiform text. He was UK. And I could get a copy only through the University of Pennsylvania, loan transfer, and I could only have the book handed to me and sit at a table, and I could get copies made, and then I had to give the book back. This is highly, highly controlled. In this Earth Files, this Plate 2, Babylonian Demons, that I have put at the beginning of this Earth Files is a plate from that valuable book, The Devils and Evil Spirits of Babylonia, which attack mankind.
It's a crazy image, everybody. It says Plate 2, and you can see it at the top of the article. 4
different reptilian heads, right?
4. The number is 4, Linda.
4,
right there.
Yeah, 4 different reptilian heads, but they are definitely reptilian heads. Now, this has always meant a great deal to me from the very first time that I had read that a professor, Robert Eisenman, back in probably going back into the 80s, had been upset that he could not get from whoever was holding on to the Dead Sea Scrolls that were first discovered back at the end of the 40s into the early 50s. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls, there was one particular one that it was deteriorated, but this Professor Robert Eisenman even went to court demanding that he have the right to see this, all of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and he especially had heard something about this one that I'm now going to share with you all because I think this is truly a key to so much. It begins that we have Enoch is down on the ground, and Enoch is looking up at 2 beings. Quote, I saw watchers in my vision, the dream vision. 2 men were fighting over me, holding a great contest over me. I asked them, who are you that you are thus empowered over me? And they answered, we have been empowered and rule over all mankind. They said to me, which of us do you choose to rule you? I raised my eyes and looked. One of them was terrifying in his appearance, like a serpent, his cloak many-colored yet very dark. And I looked again, and in his appearance, his visage, like a viper. A viper is a snake. A viper is a poisonous snake. I replied to him, this watcher, who is he? And he's now pointing to the other. And he answered, this watcher, the viper one, his 3 names are Belial and Prince of Darkness and King of Evil. I said to the other watcher, my lord, what dominion have you? He answered, well, you saw the viper, and he is empowered over all darkness, while I am empowered over all light. My 3 names are Michael, Prince of Light, and King of Righteousness. Throughout history, Jimmy, the idea of the blonde angel putting a sword down the mouth of a snake or a dragon has been carved in stone all over Western Europe. When you are in Wales or in Ireland or in Glastonbury, that stone of what looks like a kind of depiction of the angel Michael with that big sword, it's going down into these throats, as if there is some understanding and depiction of a battle between these 2 opposing sides that has been going on for millennia. And in this Dead Sea Scroll, and they say it is because it was so deteriorated that pieces were lost, the description of the viper and the reptile on one and the other has names, but that the physical description was gone. Is the relationship for centuries that blondes are fighting reptilians? And if that were true, are the grays interlopers with a completely different agenda of their own? Would that begin to explain the complexities of all of the abductions, animal mutilations from which genetic material is harvested in order to make body containers that can act as camouflage? That's something that I have been told and is in my book, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 2. The abductees call it the resurrection technology, where the beings show that they can get genetic material and they can clone a full adult body, whether it's a blonde, no matter what it is, and then camouflage whatever they are on this surface Earth to completely confuse humans at all times and perhaps confuse each other. And it is in this work, it is in looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls and meeting somebody like Celestine, who is now, she's the only, we'll say, military-related person that I know who has seen face-to-face, so to speak, through that window, a reptilian humanoid. And I believe her that she's describing exactly what she saw. And suddenly, it is not anymore like some sort of an elusive, well, the government may know, maybe they've got, maybe it isn't like that anymore at all. And when you go to part 2, boy, does it stiffen up even further.
It does.
And part 2.
It does. Yes. And Linda, can I, let me ask you this, because we do need to get to Robert of Ohio, right? Robert from Ohio, not of Ohio. That's almost too religious, Robert of Ohio. So it's Robert from Ohio. Were you able to show her that illustration from the book of the four demon heads? Yes, she has. What was her reaction?
She thinks that her eyes and her mind are getting wider and wider, where once upon a time, like a lot of people, you want to almost close down so that life goes back to normal feeling.
Yeah, I do it every day.
You can't do that in this material. You have to, and I strongly feel that is what is necessary on this planet for humans to grow up. We have to be told the whole truth. We have to see all of the complexities. We have to understand who is a threat, what is friendly. We have to be brought up to speed with what all of the military and all of that world know, I think, or we're always going to be weak. And this is part of it, that Celestine and others, when people are confronted with looking at these 4 humanoid heads that are these are sculptures. These are not pencil drawings. These are what have been found and are in the British, I believe, in the British Museum now, and that this relates, these are a photograph of what they found. They have numbers on them to cross-reference where they are in the museum, and that these would be the stone carvings of the devils and evil spirits of Babylonia, which attacked mankind. That is 1903 title, but it might as well be 2020 going forward.
Sure.
And then Celestine and I asked her, I said, did your husband ever imply in any way that this being, whatever, this reptile, is working with us positively? And she said, I never have had that discussion with him, Linda, But that's what I used to pray about. That as scary as it was, and that scan has haunted me, she said, would it be there in that enclosure if it weren't doing something with the United States government?
Yeah, because was this creature reptilian, was it a prisoner or was it comfortable, right?
Yeah, that's the question.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
but
yeah.
It is, to me, we are beginning now finally to get into ground that I think could help us grow up in all of this, and that why going to part 2 is so important, because right after I had done part 1 is when I hear about Robert from Ohio, and I did part 2 with some of the I transcribed the entire audio with the help of Mary Joyce, who does Skyships over Tashir, and she had done the original interview in 2015. And when I heard the interview, I asked her, I said, I want to do a whole transcript, and I'd like to do part 2, and she was delighted. And the cross-pollination between the two experiences makes both of them stronger. And I want everybody to hear right now that this quote that I'm going to give you was Buzz Aldrin, astronaut, who was with Armstrong and with Robert Collins in the landing on the moon in when did we land on the moon? It was
69, Linda. 69.
Yeah, July 69.
Same year you hung out with Hendrix, but that's another story.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, here it is. Buzz Aldrin talking to Robert from Ohio. And this is only 2 years after the landing on the moon. It was 1971. It was at the Edwards Air Force Base Officers Club in California. And Robert from Ohio was working in a military capacity, was in a Lear jet, and in the jet were Buzz Aldrin and Henry Kissinger. And this is the quote from Buzz Aldrin. We landed on the moon on the edge of a crater, and there were 4 cigar-shaped vehicles that were parked side by side near this crater. Where have we heard this before, Jimmy?
Yes.
William Mills Tompkins talked about his seeing the photographs from the NASA feed. He said 3 huge discs that were sitting on the crater, and that was why the LEM coming down did that fast turn right at the end. You heard Houston, and they were on a 6-second delay, and that it turned suddenly, and there was a lot of dust, and NASA said something about, there's rocks. And William Mills Tompkins said, no, it wasn't rocks. That was their cover so that the camera wouldn't show the 3 huge discs on the edge of the crater. And I had heard that back in the early 90s when I was working on UFO report sightings in L.A., the exact same thing, that there were these craft on that crater rim. Well, now here is Buzz Aldrin talking to Robert from Ohio in 1971. There were 4 cigar-shaped vehicles that were parked side by side near this crater. The ETs spoke to them, meaning to Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, telepathically, who spoke to them telepathically, and he told him that when we learn everything about frequencies, electricity, and magnetism, then we'll learn how to power their craft. There was so much structure on the moon that they could not take a lot of pictures, meaning they would be showing structures in the directions in which their cameras would be pointing, and that the pictures they did take, NASA painted over some structures so people couldn't see the structures on the moon, close quote.
Now, let me jump in. Linda, we got to take a break right here, so let's do that. And when we come back, Robert from Ohio and Henry Kissinger and some of these conversations and these quotes are absolutely incredible. And, of course, we've got to talk about Robert from Ohio's elevator trip, too, as well. We got to get that part in. Yep. Linda Moulton Howe, this is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Linda right after this short break. Stay with us.
from God on jimmychurchradio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend. Let's face it, you've always wanted to do a sky watch and see your first UFO. Today, it's easy. Just get your own HP7 3B Cobalt Jimmy Church Edition night vision goggles from Hoffman's Optics. This is the same U.S. military system that I use, featuring a Generation 3 blue phosphor image tube. That's right, it's blue, not black and green. This is the only blue system in the world, and it's waterproof, lightweight, combat-proof, simple to use, and ready to go. Hoffman's Optics helped create night vision sky watches, and now you can see what everyone has been talking about each night from your own backyard. Just call 760-231-9929. That's 760-231-9929. You can click on the banners on our site or visit UFOnightvisiongoggles.com. That's UFOnightvisiongoggles.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Linda Moulton Howe. And I knew it. I have this discussion every time with Linda when she's on the show. Linda, we're going to run out of time. Linda, we're going to run out of time. And here we are. We have so much to discuss tonight, but I want to stay on this on this story. The Fadernauts all wanted phone calls tonight. I said, well, we'll see. Sure enough, that's not going to happen. And I do, Linda, I want to try to get in the mutilations too as well. But we've got to finish what is going on here with Robert from Ohio. And where we left off, let's go back. The Learjet and Henry Kissinger and some of those that is some crazy stuff right there.
Well, this whole part 2 reinforces everything that Celestine told about her husband at Edwards Air Force Base in 1977. It's going to include another elevator ride and more stuff about UFOs, but we're going back in time. Celestine's husband and Celestine seeing the reptilian was 1977. We're now going back 6 years to 1971.
Right.
And the man who so far has never gone public as the person that he has always been known only as Robert of Ohio. And in the how this sort of starts with him, he had originally gotten in touch with Mary Joyce 4 years ago. I think it was 5 years, maybe 2015, and said that he wanted to tell her what he had personally experienced when he was working as a machinist, and he was assigned to Edwards Air Force Base, and that he was in the Air Force for 4 years, and during this period of time at Edwards, that he would get to work, and he would see people at the base who would be going into a hangar, and he never saw anybody coming out. And so one morning, out of curiosity, he went with the people into that hangar, and he was behind people going into the hangar. So what happened next just totally buffaloed him. He got up to the hangar where he had seen people going in, and there's nobody there.
Right.
And he starts walking around. What is this place? It looks like a hangar. Where have these people gone? And the only thing he finds is a stairwell. And he gets going down the stairwell, and he doesn't run into anybody. Nobody was there, but there's an elevator, just like what Celestine and Ernest had experienced in a strange way. And he said that Mary Joyce was telling me he didn't know if any of his security badges or anything were going to work. He had never walked into this, but he just tried, pushed the button, and just like Celestine said, it was his words, it shot down like you were in a ride at an amusement park, real fast down. I'm not sure how many hundreds below ground, but it was several hundreds of feet. And then when the door opened up underground, there were roads and tunnels so wide that you could have two aircraft side by side. That's very similar to Celestine's description of what they experienced. And we don't know. She never knew how deep they were underground. But now this is Robert of Ohio talking. And just bang, out of some place, he didn't even know where they came from. He had top security clearance. He had no worry about what he was doing because he had, quote-unquote, top security clearance. And these men come with M16s. They immediately put an M16 in Robert of Ohio's face, and they say, "What are you doing down here?" And they make him say, "We're going to lose our jobs. You're going to lose your job. We're all going to get discharged from the military. You are not supposed to be here. And you are going to say you were never here or saw anything." And he was so shocked, but he said, I do have a right. I have top security clearance. And immediately he said, not for down here, you don't. Now, I want to interject that since I've done these reports, I have heard from two people from military, one 24 years in the Air Force. And they told me, Linda, what is being described here I am familiar with, that I have even seen, quote-unquote, high security groups that are supposed to be responsible for an area of Area 51 or Edwards Air Force Base. And the two security groups will have different clearances, but they know nothing about each other, Jimmy, nothing. And this actually happened. It was a description to me to underscore how all of this is so complex, that a military person was firsthand where two security groups drew guns on each other. And this was out at Edwards Air Force Base. And they drew guns on each other because each was challenging that the other couldn't possibly be a real security group at Edwards because each one didn't know about the other. That actually really did happen. So now, when they say, not down here, you don't, it's that level of security that is compartmentalized. Well, he finally got out of there. Nobody gave him straight answers, but now he carries in his mind's eye, what is this place? What was that security? Where is that elevator? How far was I? All of these things are haunting him, and he gets a mission that takes him where he is invited to go to the Officers Club at Edwards, where Buzz Aldrin was speaking, and that he gets a chance to sit right next to Buzz Aldrin's wife at the Edwards Air Force Base Officers Club. And that he starts talking to her about things that he has heard. And she says to Robert of Ohio, quote, this is Buzz Aldrin's wife, well, that's like what was on the moon. Buzz told me about the aliens on the moon and about the craft and the things on the moon. She shared the story about the saucer-shaped craft and cigar-shaped mass on the moon. Well, Buzz Aldrin speaks, comes back over to where they were sitting, and then his wife introduces Buzz Aldrin to Robert from Ohio. And Buzz was upset that his wife was sharing some of these secrets, but he said, I just really wanted him to be comfortable, Buzz Aldrin to be comfortable. And so he said, I just said, it's okay. And then he said, I said to him, I'd like to just talk with you if I could. And that they went over to the corner of the Officers Club. And he said, look, I didn't want to say anything about these things, but I wanted to tell you that we landed on the moon on the edge of a crater. There were 4 cigar-shaped vehicles that were parked side by side near the crater, and this is Buzz Aldrin in a corner with Robert of Ohio, who was talking to the wife about what he had heard. And now those are words from Buzz Aldrin. And then Robert of Ohio says, and he told me that one of the ETs was speaking to them, that would be to Armstrong and to Aldrin, to them telepathically, and told them that when we learn everything about frequencies, electricity, and magnetism, then we'll learn how to power their craft. And he said that there was a moon base that the ETs had there, and that there was so much structure on the moon that they could not take a lot of pictures, and that the pictures they did take, NASA painted over some of the structures so people couldn't see the structures on the moon. And you and I and a bunch of us have talked to people who worked at NASA, and their job was to spray out objects on the moon and on Mars. I think you've had people on your show. I've definitely interviewed 2 people about that.
Sure.
Well, then this goes on to Buzz Aldrin. This is now to Robert of Ohio. Told me they were first. This is Aldrin and Armstrong. If you could imagine, they are told they were first threatened by the government that was afraid people would not believe you if you shared these stories. The government threatened to take Buzz Aldrin's pension away.
When Robert from Ohio, as time passes, he goes to, I want to jump forward a little bit. He goes to a Colonel Whitehead. Well, no, we're going to do the Learjet in a second. But with Henry Kissinger. But he went to a Colonel Whitehead about the underground structures and also...
He told him he was aware of everything he was saying.
Right. And I mean, how crazy is that? And I'm sure he was expecting some kind of denial or maybe, a reprimand, but the exact opposite happened.
Well, what did they do? They gave him orders to go to England. And this is so typical. It was like after Bentwaters. Burroughs and I have talked about that. Right after the Bentwaters stuff of December 26 to 28, 1980. Those guys were just separated, and people ended up all over the world, in Korea and all over the place, almost like it was deliberate to keep anybody and everybody who was involved with Colonel Holt out in the forest and everywhere. They all got separated. And so Robert of Ohio, quote, I got orders to go to England. But in the meantime, I wanted to hop out of L.A. to go back to Dayton, Ohio, so I could get close to home and my family before I went overseas, because they gave him a 2-year assignment.
Right.
And he gets this plane, the Learjet, that is going to take him to Dayton, Ohio, because they've got that's where Wright-Patterson is. And so that would make sense that if they have a Learjet that puts executives and people around the country all the time on these Learjets, then a bunch of passengers, or up to 6 in the Lear, could be going in one day to different places. And he said a 4-passenger Learjet, and that they were ready to board. They're taxiing down the flight line, and then the plane stops because a black limousine is pulling up to the Learjet out on the taxiway, and the officers say to Robert of Ohio, let's get off the plane and let this fellow, who happens to be Henry Kissinger, then Secretary of State, National Security Advisor to the President, let's let him sit where he wants to sit. And Kissinger gets on the plane and is sitting next to Robert of Ohio. And eventually, Robert he just feels like that he just wanted to download with Kissinger and tell him what had happened, and what he'd heard about the moon, and the elevator ride down, and that down in the elevator, we skipped over a little bit, is that when he did that elevator down in Edwards, instead of seeing a reptilian humanoid, there were saucer-shaped craft on that floor where the door opened at Edwards. So you have one experience with Celestine seeing a reptilian humanoid after an elevator going down, and with Robert of Ohio, the elevator door opens and he's looking at saucer-shaped craft. And he's telling all of this to Henry Kissinger, sitting in that Learjet, and asking Kissinger questions.
And Henry's, let me do this for you, because you can't do it. I'm going to do it. Henry Kissinger looks to Robert from Ohio and says, after I answer your question, no more questions.
Well, there's something really important.
Yes.
This is the quote that I use from Henry Kissinger that sums up the last 70 years since World War II of the government's position. Quote, if you talk about these things to people, these things will just confuse them, and people aren't prepared for this. People need structure and guidelines. They need the Bible, and they need religion, and these things will just confuse them. So it's better that the RAND Corporation, which was a military think tank, do research. Dr. Henry Kissinger said it would be best that we didn't talk about things like this until we advanced more, and that was in 1971. And then, here was the final quote. This is Kissinger. I won't deny anything that you saw or what Buzz Aldrin told you. What Buzz Aldrin told you. He told Kissinger everything about the craft on the telepathy, all of it. I won't deny anything that you saw or what Buzz Aldrin told you. But you have to remember that when you talk about these kinds of things, people will look at you with a different light. Some people might think you're crazy. Other people won't know what to say. Sometimes strange things happen to people. So you have to be careful when you talk about these kinds of things, close quote.
You know...
How do we crack that forever?
Right.
How do we get humans on Earth being able to know everything that the so-called power brokers and leaders know and use to control this planet? Earth is not being run for humans. There wouldn't be all the starvation. There wouldn't be so many things if this planet were being run for humans. It's not. And that is part of this terrible confusion and anxiety about why now in 2020, as we head toward the middle of the 21st century, why is humanity, the manipulated DNA, manipulated in already evolving primates to create Homo sapiens sapien? We are a genetically created species by another intelligence. Why can't we all be told this now as we're heading out to Mars? We already are in interstellar trade. There are clearly bases on the moon. It's beyond insanity, Jimmy, to realize that there's planet Earth of people and squabbles and the things that we are kept blinded in. And then there is a black world that goes from coast to coast and Canada to Mexico, but it's all underground.
Where's Robert from Ohio today?
Nobody knows. He has communicated with Mary, but he has kept his identity and location extremely secret.
The last, in the article, and I went to see if there was anything else with a follow-up from him, but is the last time anybody heard from him, was that 2016?
Yep.
Is that about right?
Well, in terms of that recording, she has had other discussions, but not on the record. But right now, she had done a communication on my behalf because I would like to interview him. And she was able to get a communication indirectly that he is now he's now trying to keep as low a profile as possible because of something that happened.
Well, Linda, you've got to get your hands on his sketches.
Oh, I'd love to see those sketches. I know.
You're the one.
I know.
You know that. You're the one to pull this off. But even if they're not published, I would love to see them. And that's it. I've
asked.
Yeah.
I've asked through the intermediary. Yeah. And maybe some people will think that the intensity of where we are now with COVID, waiting to get to vaccinations, will we get beyond having to live life so differently for a much longer period of time? From my point of view, we shouldn't be in government systems that keep putting off something as profoundly important, that we're not alone in this universe and we never have been alone, and that this solar system and this planet and the moon and Mars and Ganymede and Saturn, they have all been being used by advanced intelligences. That phrase, you can't understand them till you understand frequencies, magnetism, electrical, remember the phrase, that we're dealing with advanced technologies, but we're being treated like 2-year-olds that should never know.
Linda, you just published, I'm going to ask, is it okay? You want to stay up a little bit late?
Go, sure.
Okay, because you just published, everybody, this just went live right before the show tonight, which is Earth Files viewer feedback about Navy flight engineers' report of aliens' presence in Antarctica. And I didn't get a chance, and this is exciting for me. The audience needs to know this went live about 5 minutes before showtime tonight. Linda and I were talking about 10 minutes before showtime, and she said it's going live now. So can we come back and go over what you just published for everybody?
Yeah, this is important.
Okay, let's do that. Let's take our break right here. Linda Moulton Howe, this is Fade to Black. And now I want everybody to go to earthfiles.com. The links are at jimmychurchradio.com. You go there all the time. Go to earthfiles.com. Right there on the homepage, August 20, 2020, is the new article we're going to be going over when we come back after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. You can follow Linda on Twitter at earthfiles. Linda, stay right there. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Overtime. Linda Moulton Howe. I got to say, done a lot of shows with Linda. Done a lot of hanging out. Tonight might be the one, Linda. Tonight might be,
well,
you know, when you...
There's so much that is happening, Jimmy, that feels like we're about to get that big crack in the consciousness of humanity. I really feel that. And this story that we were talking about before the break, it was in 2015, and I think you and I have talked about it on the show, about Brian S.
Yes.
And he was a retired Navy flight engineer when he contacted me back in January of 2015. And he sent me a long, detailed email then. And one of those quotes from the original 2015 email to me that galvanized my attention. We did a long interview. I've worked with him on Ancient Aliens. We still are in touch to this day. Here is what came in an email, and I think you and everybody listening would be stunned at seeing this in an email from a Navy flight engineer. Quote, talk among the flight crews, and this is in Antarctica in a C-130, was that there is a UFO base at South Pole, and some of the crew heard talk from some of the scientists working at the pole of extraterrestrial biological entities known as EBAs, working with and interacting with the scientists at that pole air sampling camp / large ice hole. The cover name was Air Sampling Lab. Now, what has happened in the last 5 years? I have reprinted this first article with Brian S., the flight engineer, who was a petty officer first class when he retired. And I will get emails, I will get emails from people periodically over 5 years who will go into Earth Files and read these reports. And recently I had a repetition talking about Brian S., and listen to the reports that I have gotten just in the last 3 to 4 months about all of this issue of a UFO base at the South Pole with EBAs working and interacting with scientists. Michael Corley, go to Google Earth and have a look at the South Pole, Antarctica area that Brian S. is talking about, where he and his C-130 crew saw the hole in the ice. That's right near South Pole. Guess what? You can look at some of the Antarctic region there, but that area near the South Pole is blacked out. You cannot view that area. Odd coincidence that the very same place that Brian S. speaks for you cannot see on Google Earth. Maybe something is going on down there. Another that wants to remain anonymous. I was in VXE6, and that is the specific unit that Brian S. worked in the early 90s. And this man is with Brian S. We'd always hoped that we would hear from somebody who was on that crew. So he was in the crew. And he said in the early 90s with Brian S., the Navy flight engineer, who came forward to Linda about the craft and the entrance near the South Pole, and then he says, it's real. They are there. Then Jorge Rocha, all the scientists were taken into the hole to see the other civilization that is there. When they called headquarters after they were returned to base camp, being gone for the week, they were threatened not to disclose any information or talk about anything that they had seen, or there would be consequences to all of them and their families. They all had to sign top secret documents and were all banned to pursue their fields upon their return. That is the truth. And he's talking about the incident of the disappearing scientists at Marie Birdland, that Brian S. Was personally involved in the operation trying to find the scientists that went missing and then finally showed up. That's where Jorge Rocha is talking about, that he knows about the scientists. Sean Dwyer. When I was working at McMurdo Station in 2001 to 2002, I was working the night shift. Got off work around 5 a.m. with a coworker. We were sitting at a table in the cafeteria, just the two of us, no one else in there. And then U.S. Senator John McCain walks into the cafeteria to get breakfast. He sits down, and the bodyguard sees me staring in his direction and gives me the look of death. To this day, I have no idea why Senator McCain was there, close quote. And we know that Buzz Aldrin was in Antarctica and was flown out in a medevac emergency at the end of 2016 in the election year, and sent out a tweet that made CNN and news, and I have a copy of it. And it said, "I have just seen the face of evil, and we are all in danger." And then the next day, somebody went to CNN and news operations and said, "No, it was just a joke." I think the original tweet was from Buzz Aldrin, but what was he doing in Antarctica? And what was the medevac reason? And why would he put out a tweet? It was in his tweet, and it was about, "I have seen the face of evil in Antarctica." And then there is a Robert Smith who says, "I've actually heard this story from another one of the crew that dropped off that same team of scientists, and both stories are exactly the same. The disappearing scientists that Brian S. was involved in rescuing. The crew member was told to keep his mouth shut, and he's retired also, and he has chosen to speak out now. We are not alone." And there's another one that's long at the bottom. But, Jimmy, the reason why I'm doing that now is to reinforce that even though Brian S. first did the interview with me in 2015, and then we worked on Ancient Aliens, and I have done other updates, and there have been other incidents of things that have happened, that 5 years later, people are beginning to come forward with what they know themselves. And to me, that is a positive thing, that means that people now are not as afraid as they once were.
Brad Olson, and you know Brad, he went down to Antarctica. It's almost been 2 years now. I can't believe it. A year and a half ago. He goes down, and I don't know if you've talked to Brad directly about this, but I'm sure you've heard about his experiences. So he goes down, and he's actually on a sailboat, right? This big sailboat that from the tip of Argentina, I forget the city, the last port south, right? Sails down, and he goes to a few different base camps there, and he meets the head of each base camp. Some have more people working there than others, but he said that he went up to everybody with breaking conversation, but eventually, Linda, gets into an ET conversation, right? Trying to find out what they knew, right? And if there was anything. And he said it was surprising to me that nobody had any, didn't know what I was talking about. Nobody knew about any UFO chatter or any ET chatter. It was very strange. It wasn't like they said, "You know what? Yeah, we've heard that. It's kind of funny." And no, it was just like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Right? He was completely shut down, and everybody had the same story. You would have to ask Brad a little bit more about it, but that was the gist that I got and that he got It was that everybody had the same reading from the same script.
Right, and this Jorge Rocha and the piece that I have posted just before tonight's show, and people can go to rifffiles.com and see this themselves, is he said, this is talking about when the scientists disappeared, and they all had to sign top-secret documents and were all banned to pursue their science fields upon their return.
Very interesting.
Talk about the loss of human skills, of who, in the interest of a policy of perpetual lies and denial, that people with good minds have been hurt and squelched because the government didn't want anybody to talk about. How do we get out of this hole that we're in, of a hole that is dominated by lies and policies of deceit, when we need everybody to be able to talk the truth, learn the truth? And I remember it was a couple of years ago that there was a scientist that I was talking to, and he said one of the big problems that we have is that so much is in the black world now, and there are better minds in the white world, but we can't get the clearances for the scientists in the white world to work on what we need.
Why do you think, what's Google's official position of, blacking out that part of Antarctica?
Well, I don't know what it is now. I have worked with a Navy captain. I have worked with an engineer. I've worked with various people at various times on why am I running in to clear camouflaging cover-up. It was really obvious on Mars in Gale Crater. They were covering it up with it was awful. And it was like, what are they covering up and not even doing it well? And all of this testimony about all of the photoshopping of the moon pictures to keep all the structures from being known to the Earth. I don't have an answer to the Google issue, because you would think that Google management would have to have knowledge of what they are doing with Google Earth, Google Mars, and so forth. That they, if there are these big white spaces, and I run into that in when you start going around Antarctica, and you can get down to fine granular detail in one place and move to another not too far away, and it's just all blanked out, all clouded out. And it's got to be that because they are covering up things, but who is giving, that's what you're asking implied, who is giving the order? How are they defining what it is that they are photoshopping out? And how long do these orders last? Are they ever rescinded? And why is it necessary to do this at all in the first place?
Yeah, I have Google Earth Pro, right? And I go to the South Pole, right? And I zoom in. And let me see how many miles across this is. It's 38 kilometers. So what's 38 kilometers times 2? 72. So how many miles is that? Right? I don't know. How do you convert?
About half.
About half, right? So let's say it's about 30 miles in diameter. The basic section completely whited out. I mean, you can't. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Right there at the South Pole. You can't see what the South Pole is. And then you zoom out. This is Google Earth Pro. Forget about regular Google Earth. And then you zoom out from there, and you can see the circle that is around there where it starts to change a different color. It's not completely grayed out, but it's different. But as you zoom in, you don't have the detail. It's all gone. And that section, that's got to be hundreds of miles I don't know without, jumping into this and trying to figure it out. But that's with Google Earth Pro. And I'm on it right now. I'm looking at it, Linda.
Yeah. And so much of my work has been involved with using Google Earth to go in to whether I'm in South America or up in Alaska working there. It has always been almost making me laugh that I start on a story that has some UFO ET connection to it. And I'm going to a map so that I can study the geography and that I can get down to tiny, tiny things on the ground at one place while I'm looking. But as soon as I get to the latitude, longitude that has been given to me, and people send me latitude, longitudes, it's all fuzzed out. So what I mean is I'm down to granular detail. And as soon as I just move a little bit to get to my latitude, longitude, it's not it's not clear. And that happens so many times in so many places that it is like an old game that somebody is giving information to Google Earth and those guys to make it impossible to see the details of certain areas on this planet.
I don't get it. I don't understand why, if you're going to, this is the thing, is that Antarctica, for me, I think for all of us, but for me, is one of the great, not only wonders, but mysteries, right? And we are going through global warming right now. And the ice is going to melt. It's going to be easier to access, but there will be a point where there is going to be something revealed in Antarctica that isn't going. You won't be able to hide it anymore, right?
Yeah.
And
they better get this story out with truth to it before that happens.
Yeah, that's it. They better or get it straight, or get the story straight, because if the ET component is one thing. But you and I love the way you say Homo sapien sapien, right?
Yeah.
When we look at us, 200,000 years, okay, 10,000 years ago, okay, 5,000 years ago, we can look at these numbers. But the dogma and what we have been told is one thing, and it's been jammed down our throats for so long that we now accept it as truth. Right?
No.
Well, hold on. Hold on.
No.
But let me finish. If something is going to be revealed in Antarctica that is going to show the rest of the world that we've been lied to, right? That there has been something ancient. There is something before 10,000 years ago. There is something before 50,000 years ago. There is something before 100,000 years ago or 10 million years ago. And it's going to
34 million.
Or 34 million. And it's under the ice. It's under the ice.
That is not, that's not a phony, flaky number.
It's not.
The last time that Antarctica was free of 2 to 3 mile deep ice was in that 34 million to 33 million years ago period. Between 34 million and 33 million, it went from warm, tropical, ferns, dinosaurs. That was the role of that landmass coming out of Pangaea, breaking off what we call South Africa, moving south over 70-some million years. It was always warm, a tropical climate. Even when it got to the South Pole, it was tropical. And then something happened that nobody knows between 34 and 33 million years ago, and by 33 million, Antarctica at the South Pole that had been warm and tropical and ferns and dinosaurs now has 2 mile thick ice. It is a true mystery. And that maybe, what if, that the climate control of using ice to camouflage an alien presence is part of the strategy?
The images from Google Earth at that point, you know what I mean, where they're updating all the time, something's going to stop, right? They're going to stop. They're going to stop publishing what is going on there, and it's supposed to be a private concern, private satellites. But I think the government's going to run interference. If something happens down there and something is revealed, you and I getting a passport or attempting to go down and investigate it for ourselves, we can't do that. We can't do that as journalists and reporters.
I don't think anybody is ever going to go to any of these places like this year or in the we'll call it the current era, unless you've got some kind of approval from the National Science Foundation or from a government agency or an intel agency. You don't just go to Antarctica and move around where you want to.
No, you can't do it.
No, those cruise ships are defined to a very narrow place. But that's the fundamental question. What actually is there that is 2 miles right now under ice in a global warming in which, you're right, the melt itself may finally make it moot about that we're all going to be able to see? Then what would be the response of power brokers if something is revealed? Well, the only healthy response is to say to the world, we have been trying to study this, we've been trying to understand this, we wanted to have more answers before we presented to you and the global public. And now global climate change is forcing us, and we all now want to share with you what we have learned, what we don't know. That's the kind of presentation that I would like to see, which would then finally bring the human family into the tent with the power brokers about our planet, its history, what is 2 miles down in Antarctica that Buzz Aldrin said he had seen the face of evil.
Yeah. I mean, going down to McGurdo, right, and waving some money around, and like Indiana Jones or something, and seeing if you can, get a plane or get on a snowcat and just go on an adventure and just go check things out. You can't do that.
That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Linda, before I let you go tonight, obviously everything that seemed normal to us, I'm talking about conferences and hanging out and doing our things, it's all canceled this year. What do you think is going to happen in 2021? Are we going to be able to get this back? Are the conferences going to be different, or are we going to be able to get back to normal and start hanging out with everybody?
Well, I know that my perspective is, and I have written to some invitations that have come to me to speak in 2021 internationally and domestically, that I don't want to get on an airplane and go anywhere until I've had a vaccine. I personally feel very strongly about that. So I am hoping that the Oxford University AstraZeneca, they're in third phase trials now. I think they are putting needles in the arms of about 80,000 people in 6 countries. It's a very professional third phase. And that Oxford and AstraZeneca have said that they have committed. They are not going to be making profit off of the vaccine. They're going to try to distribute to as many people as possible for cost. And I think that the UK gets the first round. And so there is an area of, we have 7.6 billion people on the planet. And how do you get a few billion arms vaccinated to make sure that this thing doesn't turn into another unexpected wave? And the vaccine, to me, that is the key. And the fact that there are maybe 4 or 5 others that would be sort of in the running with the Oxford and AstraZeneca vaccine, maybe that if phase 3 goes well, by April or May, maybe AstraZeneca would be prepared to start putting it out as to what's called when they go to the general population. And that means that the earliest that in the United States that we might be getting that vaccine may be midsummer of 2021 or fall. So you can see the problem that whoever makes the vaccine, how are they going to get it into the millions up to a billion needles into arms much faster than the rest of next year?
So you're if your crystal ball is showing the right thing, you're thinking it won't be until the end of the summer or fall of 2021 before things start to even close to getting back to normal for travel?
I think that's probably a closer picture than earlier. If you mean all of us getting, like last year, I was on 46 airplanes, where you take 2 planes to get to a destination and 2 planes back. It is easy to get to 46 airplanes, and that was the way my life was. And I love life, and I love the work that I do. Fortunately, I can do so much of it in my home office. But getting on an airplane before a vaccine, I think, is playing too dangerous a Russian roulette.
There you go. Linda, thank you so much. What a great night. And hopefully,
I know.
When we get together next year, we'll maybe we'll see each other before then, but we'll go, you know what? That show in August, that was out of control. Linda, thank you so much. What a great night.
Yeah, well, it was great. And Contact and Conscious Life, maybe some of us will end up driving to a couple of conferences in 2021.
Well, yeah, and we've got Conscious Life coming up, and, you're always there, and we are able to do that conference together. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
All right, Jimmy. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, Linda. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Linda Moulton Howe. Again, everything that we talked about tonight and much more is current right now over at Earth Files, earthfiles.com, including which was just published right before the show tonight. And there is another interesting article here about some recent animal mutilations as well. And check out the article from August 17th, letters from Earth File viewers, laser weapon to 15,000 miles per hour. All great stuff right now over at earthfiles.com. With that, I'm just going to let everybody know. Great night, great week. Thank you, Linda. But Rita and I have to work all weekend long. So that's what I got to do. I got to get out of here right now and start the rest of my weekend, which is working for 3 straight days. But I'll see you on Monday. We got a great week lined up next week. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Linda Moulton Howe. What a great night tonight. Jimi Hendrix will never sound the same to any of you. Think about that. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Arter, G. Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is only copyrighted 2020 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until Monday, I want everybody to have a great, safe, fantastic, fun weekend. Go Beckley Tepe.